What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 80 of Unfiltered. I'm ChanManV, and joined today, of course, with Richard's back from MLG, and Stephen, of course, in his lovely abode. What's up, fellas?
Great. I'm still in America. I'm loving it out here. I'm in LA at the moment. It's a nice sunny morning outside, so I'm just going to pound some coffee and hopefully we can get through this show and I can go back to bed for a couple of hours.
Okay, that's good. Stephen, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing okay. I just hope that I don't get attacked by Richard Lewis today, since I've seen he's kind of coming out and throwing shots at everybody. So I'm just kind of keeping my head down over here.
You're always safe, brother. You're always safe. You know that, right?
Oh, gosh. Well, of course, Stephen alluding to a topic that we're going to be having today. But before we get into all those great things that we're going to be talking about, we will be doing some Q&A today. No call-ins today. We're trying some different, as you can tell, the production's a little bit different today, but we're trying some different things. So we're going to do just normal text questions. So you can do that by tweeting at Unfiltered GG. Follow that too if you haven't followed the show Twitter, or you can link or put your comments or your questions in the comments here as usual on the ChanManV.tv website. But yeah, lots to talk about. We're going to kick things off with the event that Richard just came back from, the MLG Minors in Columbus, where CSGO, of course. And the Minors, for those of you that might not have caught it, is an event where all the teams that did not participate or have any players that participated in any of the majors got a chance to participate in this event. So anybody that did qualify for the majors at all weren't eligible for this event. It's kind of cool. It's just like a place where, it's called the Minors, right? So it's kind of like the minor league, hopefully develop some more teams so they can step it up into the majors. But Richard, how was the event, man?
Yeah, well, I mean, lots going on actually behind the scenes. So, I mean, first of all, like you say, this was an event that's designed to sort of tap into the regions that have these amateur scenes where people maybe don't get a lot of opportunities. And of course, North America for Counter-Strike, that definitely applies to. You've got this, like revolving door kind of stuff going on where lineups don't stay together. You've got new brands coming up, and people are throwing together teams for like one season ESEA invite, and then they don't get any sponsors or whatever, and that team will break up. And there's been no stability, and it's contributed to one of the ongoing problems in North American Counter-Strike. And that is, of course, they've never been able to put together a top-tier roster. And for years, we haven't had new talent coming through in NA. It's always been the old guard. So the idea behind the Minors is that, these teams get a chance to maybe get to a major, right?
Yeah.
Which is vitally important. So while that's going on top of that, this is the first event MLG have run since their acquisition by Activision Blizzard. So we of course they're doing this. It's a Valve sanctioned tournament. It's a Valve endorsed tournament. So how was that going to affect things? Now, I only got the gig last minute because I happen to be in America already working on some other super secret stuff. And they hit me up and were like, could you do a desk? Scoots is going to host. Their original plan was to do American talent only. So I was like, yeah, of course, right? Because, everyone's saying, oh, Richard, you'll never work again. So it's not like I need to do these events, right, in the post-DreamHack haze. It's not like I need to do these events, but I like doing these events because it's like I still get fucking hired. That's what it's really about, right? That and MLG is super cool, of course. And I've always been good guys to work for. So I was like, I jumped at the chance and went there, and it was a good experience. Like, it definitely, I thought it was a good broadcast, but I thought as well, it pointed to some very promising developments in North America, which,
Splice won, right? So that was
no, it was enemy dog.
Oh, enemy one? Oh, I thought Splice won. Okay.
No. Splice got a
My bad.
big. Splice got a big upset though.
Yeah,
They beat Optic, who were favorites.
Yeah, that's
favorites
why.
for the event. So I mean
Exactly.
basically like Splice are in the top 3 talking points out of the event. They're a
Mm-hmm.
new organization, formerly Follow Esports. They had a team formerly known as Dogmen. They were like battling for like relegation. Like they weren't a great team. And they managed to beat fucking the Green Wall at Optic. I couldn't believe it. I said they weren't even going to get 8 rounds. So I mean, I fucked up, right? So I made a bet with Moses on air. I was like, these guys aren't going to get 8 rounds. These guys are going to get blown out the water. Because I truly believed in Optic's dominance. Well, Optic went to pieces faster than a leper in a wind tunnel, and as soon as there was any pressure on
a wind tunnel.
Yeah. You just picture that, baby. There was, and like they really did. Hector was there and watching it. Hector from Optics, and he was like, like I'm a jinx or some shit. I got to get out the room. But yeah, they lost 2-1 to Splice. Went out the tournament when really Optics should have been in the final. So I mean, that was a big talking point. And it goes to show the upset potential we've always had in NA. Like one team is always capable of beating another just because of that sort of American pugging style. I think so. Anyway, I think that's part of the problem. So yeah, but it was Enemy who won it.
What do you think is just like a quick question?
Yo,
how is like the environment there right now? Like, does it feel like everybody is kind of like I guess like after an acquisition like this, I feel like there's either everybody there is like really cheery and optimistic and hopeful and like re-energized, or is everybody kind of like bummed out and feel like they're on their way out, or what's like the general mood and everything post acquisition?
Yeah, I mean, I ain't gonna lie to you, and hopefully, telling the truth doesn't mean that in 3 weeks when they're doing something else, I don't get to go back, or maybe I get passed over for a major or whatever that they're doing. But look, I mean, the reality is, I think there's a lot of uncertainty. Like the guys have all been briefed that the plan is to be business as usual. That MLG is a tournament organizer. They run tournaments. They run great tournaments. And that's what they're going to continue doing across all of the games. But the reality is, we all know that seems crazy from a business perspective. We don't need to be like geniuses to put it together that why would Blizzard or Activision, let alone the fact that they're a combined, games developer conglomerate, why would you pay to have a subsidiary of you broadcast, promote, and glorify a rival title, and not just a rival title that's made by the most successful games developer in the world, if we're talking about profitability. So yeah, it seems to me, I can't imagine that in 6 months what was MLG is doing Counter-Strike and or Dota and anything else. I think they'll be doing Call of Duty for sure. I think they'll be doing Overwatch and Heroes of the Storm. I think you're just going to see a game shift. It's just going to be about Blizzard and Activision's titles. I could be wrong on this. I mean,
no, it's got to be that. I mean,
no, but I mean, MLG haven't said anything officially to me. This is like literally just my thoughts on the matter. MLG have been professional about it. They're like, we can't answer that question every time I ask them. And Richard, why do you keep bringing this up? Richard, we're at World of Beers. Can you stop now? Like, obviously they tell me to shut the fuck up and not ask them about it. But yeah, I mean, like, I think some of the staff, especially like the CEVO guys, they don't know what happens to them now. MLG acquires CEVO, and then Activision Blizzard acquire MLG. I think they're all like, is the writing on the wall? And I think they all want to do. It was a motivating factor to do good work. Put it that way.
Yeah, that's true.
They don't know if they're going to be doing that work in 6 months, and I think it would be a goddamn shame because the one thing that I can definitely say is that they got a real talented admin team. They got a real talented broadcasting team. And it'd be a goddamn tragedy if they all got cast to the 4 wins. But yeah, so to answer your question, Stephen, yeah, I think there is a little bit of uncertainty. I don't know if people believe that they're going to be doing CSGO 6 months from now, even though executives are saying we stick to the plan. This is what MLG does.
Sure.
That'd be really surprising. I mean, at the end of the day, they're developers. You know what I mean? And esports, even though the industry is growing and it's becoming its own thing, it's still a marketing play for these developers. In 2016, it's still a marketing play. So
I guess I would hope. I guess we haven't really
that's
seen
crazy.
Blizzard do like the crazy strong arm shit. So hopefully we don't see the Activision side, I guess, shine through on the MLG part. Although I don't know, has Activision done it much too?
Oh, I mean,
Do you think Activision pressured like MLG to only do Call of Duty over other titles, or what do you? Can you?
No, I don't think it was that direct. I think what it was, though, you know, they've obviously, you know, MLG and Call of Duty were kind of synonymous, and
yeah,
you know, MLG were using that game to sort of it's not stay relevant, but kind of have that you know, potency and support. Yeah, exactly, right. Like, because you know, look at all the other stuff that happened. I mean, MLG is one of the most unlucky tournament organizers in the fucking business. I'm being real about that. Like, that's not even just saying
unlucky.
It.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll tell you exactly why. Right. So, like, look at the StarCraft thing. Okay, so they did some great work in StarCraft 2. We all know that they tried to market the pay-per-view model, which I know is going to come back in a big way in 2016. I know it's going to come back in a big way in 2016 and beyond. And everyone shit on them for doing it, even though they've done all these great events. You know, they tried that whole thing of like, why do we all have to play nice and have one calendar? And them and DreamHack went head to head one time, and that got them a bunch of shit. And eventually they sort of drifted from like the StarCraft community. You know, Sundance was out there on his Twitter, like wrecking people. No,
I kind of disagree with the unlucky part. Maybe just but like I think that Sundance botched. I think that the worst thing that MLG did, surprisingly enough, I think was actually their PR. Like, I think MLG can actually be a case study in how bad PR can ruin your fucking shit. The thing that I remember, one of the things that stands out to me the most is MLG sold, like, remember they sold like that gold pass that entitled you to see everything that they were going to do, right?
Yeah.
Well, when MLG started to sell these things, they didn't know how much they were going to expand their content in the future, right? They had no idea. And eventually it got to the point where MLG wanted to expand their content and open up and do a whole bunch of other things with StarCraft. But the problem was they had to charge separately for that. There's no way that they could expand and do everything they wanted to while still maintaining those gold passes. That reality was such an easy sell. Like, and I'll even be arrogant and say, like, if they would have given me the job to go to Reddit and social media and explain that proposition, I could have done it easily. And I know for a fact that the entire community would have been on MLG's side with that change. But instead, they just pushed an announcement through saying, by the way, if you're gold, you don't get all these things for free before. Understandably, the community had huge backlash to it. And that's when you got the Sundance coming out and saying, what was that thing he would always say? I fired
the guy.
No. There was like a thing that he said, like, I know. I don't remember what exactly it was. Like, that was just like,
I get what you're saying or something.
Yeah, like, I get it. Like,
there you go.
That was just one example. Sundance shot himself in the foot so many times with horribly.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. I
think they could have made that pay-per-view thing. I get it. I think they could have. I think that MLG, what you're saying is true, in that they did try to do a lot of things that, ironically enough, might become either the standard or might be pushed by other companies in the future. But I think that if MLG would have handled their PR better, I really do feel like they could have pushed through some of those changes in a way that wouldn't have resulted in horrendous community backlash.
But it's not just that, Doug. Hang on, Chris. Let me just jump in with this, and then I'm out, right? So, obviously, with the StarCraft 2 shit, you had that disastrous
the WCS
NA qualifier, right? Which, look, I have got to say, right, okay, that's mismanagement, but that was a shit show. Nobody could have predicted how fucking bad that was going to be. So that's just StarCraft 2. I mean, that was when they were donezo pretty much in StarCraft 2, because it was such a bad luck for the WCS, which of course was Blizzard's baby, and that wasn't good. And okay, let's look at Dota 2. They come into Dota 2, they want to run that big tournament, and then they have this event all set up, and of course the international dates get announced, and it's too close to the international for any top team to go to MLG. So then they get blown the fuck out for that, right? And that's like, Jesus Christ, can we get a break? League of Legends, they were doing League of Legends events, and then of course Riot do their thing. And it's LCS now. It's like, hey, you can't run a tournament, you get to do LCS games live at your events or nothing. So I think MLG, you're absolutely right. I mean, they fucked up a bunch, but this is esports, everyone's incompetent, right? So on some level, especially when it comes to PR, I can identify with that shit. So but these guys got unlucky for real. Like,
yeah, they did get unlucky, but at the same time, they did put a lot of eggs in the StarCraft 2 basket, right? I mean, they were the leaders. Yeah, everybody did, right? They were the leaders, but they didn't include the new titles for a long time. It was always StarCraft 2 and then a bunch of these other dying titles, right? Whether it was Halo or even Call of Duty, I think was getting started at the time. But they stayed on StarCraft 2 for too long. And then when they did try to get League of Legends in there, try to get Dota 2 in there, I mean, they were trying to play catch up at that point. And yeah, those kind of bad luck scenarios happened to them. But it's kind of interesting that you pointed out the whole pay-per-view thing. They were ahead of their time there, but I feel like the space wasn't big enough, or we weren't to the point where there was, offerings, there was any kind of demand that people would pay, it just wasn't big enough quite yet.
No, I think it could have happened. I think
really?
Like I said, I think it was just a mismanaged PR, in my opinion. I think it could have been pushed through, or at least it could have been done in such a way that wouldn't have resulted in such horrible backlash.
And I mean, people were already paying for the gold pass, right? So to some degree it was. It's just a matter of would the majority of the people, or even a quarter of the people, actually do it? I don't know. But we've seen it now with like TI and things where it's crowdfunded, or in a very creative way too, right? Gold pass isn't very creative. It's just like, shit, just pay, whatever, $20 or whatever it was and get these few things. I mean, not even like creative things. It's just like straight up just HD stream or whatever it was, or secondary streams. So they were lacking there too. It was it was an issue of just product also.
The MLG LOL stuff is like really sad. I really unless I have like a fundamental misunderstanding about something, it really seems like the early, not to join on fucking Richard's bullshit, but it really seems like Riot fucked so many people that helped them getting started, like hosting this fucking no-name Han wannabe tournament when it was nothing, and then for Riot to say like fuck everybody, like now that we're like the top dog, like, or now that we're even starting to grow, like if you want to host league events, like you can't do fuck all for anything else. And
yeah, but ESL was there before MLG, right? I mean, they were there in all aspects, like live events, and even they had the broadcasting rights, right? They were the contractors basically for Riot before they had their own studio. So
I mean, the finals for the first sort of pro season, that was DreamHack, right? So
it was DreamHack too. Yeah, DreamHack was there before them too. So they were late to the game when it comes to League of Legends.
And they tried to strong arm fucking DreamHack as well. I mean, it's incredible. Look, again, I definitely won't harp on about this because this is like weekly therapy for me, just to expunge all of the Riot poison. But here's what they did. They got their thing built up. All the people who helped them build their game up, build their tournaments up, make stars out of all of these players, stars out of all of these brands, and then they turn around and said, right, we're running our own league now, and the only play for you, the only seat at the table, is if you allow our games to be played live at your tournaments, like part of a fucking tour. That's it. Like.
And exclusively too, right? Like they weren't going to let you have Dota wasn't going to be at your tournament or something.
Yeah, I mean,
with ESL it was that.
yeah. I mean, that was the other thing as well. I mean, like you had to, if you at any point, and this was mainly for the big, for the proper tournaments that they were running, rather than these LCS road shows. They were, that was an absolute given that, you couldn't have anything they considered a rival title there, which leads to the, birth of ESL One as a brand and everything else. So it's like, Riot, I mean, like I say, MLG just, they just got wrecked but by multiple, games developers. And yeah, I mean, sure, I guess they probably could have seen it was coming, but it's like it sucks for them. It really does.
Yeah, it's partial, but again, partial strategy, partial execution. But they did have some good ideas that just never worked out for them. Okay, well, let's move on to Genesis 3. We typically don't talk about Smash on this show, and I ended up catching some of Genesis 3, and I don't usually watch much Smash 2 and really follow the scene, but I figured they did a really good job marketing the Genesis 3. So it got me to actually start to watch it a bit. And I have to say, I thought I was pretty impressed just with the overall production and just seeing the crowds. And And they did a great job of, I think, just getting notable people in the esports industry out there to the event also. And
got to see Sky Williams cast the event.
Well, Sky casted, but I'm just saying, even just the audience, like a lot of people were there.
Yeah.
And just a lot of the favorites. Mango did well, Armada and Mango, fighting just in the Melee finals. I mean, that's pretty much what everybody wants to see. So overall, I felt like it was a great event. Did you guys, either of you guys catch it or no?
I only saw the Sky Williams drama fallout. That's all I saw.
Just the fallout.
I didn't even see that. What did Sky do this time?
Oh, he went to the event and he casted, and he was very much Sky Williams the entire event, and people were getting like really. Actually, here's like a.
Isn't that the point? Like, if you don't want Sky Williams, why hire Sky Williams?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think they thought that he would like turn it down, I guess, for a little bit.
Right.
What? Why would you invite somebody?
Hold on, fuck. Who has a link to the fucking odd shot? I know one of you. Hold on, I'll get it. This is like this is kind of like a summary of.
Send it here. Oh yeah, Leffen couldn't attend because of these issues. I mean, there were a few things that were a few controversies surrounding the whole thing. But overall, I mean, the viewership was quite good. I mean, I think the viewership was over 100K. It wasn't the biggest. It was probably second to Evo, I believe. Evo 2015 this last year. But Genesis 3 being, a grassroots-ish type of event, it's not a huge organization that runs this event. It's pretty impressive.
I mean, for me, so like, look, I got nothing against Smash. Like, I thought that Smash documentary was like real good. Like, I met some cool people in the community. But let's be real. Right, that Smash documentary blew up in a big way, and then everyone in esports, like everyone in esports does, starts pandering to people and trying to get in on this like relevancy fucking train, and it's a lie, it's a fiction, It's like I every time
it's a fiction that the game is.
No, I mean it's a fiction that these guys are into it, it's nonsense. Like you've got people who would never sit down and watch Smash. You got people who've like got nothing to do with the fighting game community, and they're coming out going, haha, I saw somebody won a Smash tournament. If I say their name on Twitter, I am now part of the community. Yes. And it's nonsense. Like, look, I'm never going to just go into a community and be like, hey, can I get involved in this shit? Like, I got to find something there that I like. That's why I never touched Dota 2. That's why I waited until after StarCraft 2 was at the peak of its popularity, because I didn't want to be accused of like going in with all those other people who were just there for a cash grab, and with Smash, I think like it seems like a really cool community. I actually have Smash people like follow me on Twitter, message me on Twitter. We talk about other games, and no one seems to mind that I've said I don't personally consider it a premier esport. No one seems to mind that in the Smash community, so they seem to be mature.
It depends on who you talk to. People get
really
fucking mad about that.
I think Steven's right. There's a lot of stuff.
I think I do think that it's a very, very watchable game. Like, I've been at MLGs and I've noticed that like Smash is hella watchable. Like, you don't really even need to know what's going on to be like really entertaining. Obviously, there's stuff that you'll pick up on if you're higher level and you understand some concepts or whatever. But even with knowing nothing about it, like it's a very, very watchable game. Although maybe fighting games in general might be.
It's very watchable for like, I think about 10 minutes or 15 minutes. If you don't know anything, as a casual person, and again, like I didn't play Smash that much, and I typically don't watch Smash events much. So coming into Genesis, I probably watched the most I've ever watched, like 30 to 45 minutes of it, and yeah, it was definitely entertaining. I could understand to a certain point. Of course, I didn't appreciate all the moves like the casters were pointing out. You have to be able to play the game to really understand how amazing these players really are with in just their controls, right?
Well, but even so, even without like knowing that, like you just watching how quickly the
there's action. There's a lot of action, right?
Like I think that it's really accessible to watch. I don't think you have to be really good to appreciate it. Obviously, again, there are going to be higher level moves that you can't pick up on, but
yeah, I think that's generally true. I mean, and again, it's the same for Street Fighter and just a lot of the other fighting game.
Yeah. Did you get that? Did you see the odd shot that I linked?
Yeah. Let's get back to this.
Odd shot. Okay. Let's bring this odd shot out.
Right? So I haven't even watched this yet. Should I click on this shit?
All right, let me link it to everybody. Did you link it to everybody? Let me link it to everybody.
It was linked in the chat. Apparently, so yeah, just Sky being Sky was making some people kind of
let me turn this volume down here. It's, I mean, come on, what do you expect from Sky? I mean, seriously, it's like.
Hang on, right?
So I mean, that's exactly how that's who he is. I mean, what are you supposed to expect from?
I think the problem is that he was making like a lot of comments throughout the entire tournament, like that players were physically attractive and stuff like that, and that people were getting like really, really irritated with it. I'm just saying what I saw.
He's a thirsty gay man. Obviously, he's gonna say shit like that. He's got relentless thirst, man. Sky's unreal for that. It blows my mind. It's like turning up to a Donald Trump rally and saying he said something bad about a Mexican. That's what you're there to hear.
I know. Right.
It's real.
Oh, right.
How did that cause drama? I mean, for starters, it looks like the production fucked up because those two casters there, Sky being one of them, they're looking around like, what's happening?
Oh, okay.
Like, what's happening? Where's the what do we do now? Like, there's a weird, awkward silence. Plus, as well, if you're a co-caster and you're like, Sky, what the fuck are you doing? You can't be like, I'm just not going to talk until you stop, right? You can't do that, right? So you've got to fucking.
Well, has Sky casted that? What has Sky casted in the past?
He's definitely done Smash before. That's not like his first game.
Yeah, that's true. He has done Smash before. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess you know, Richard. Like, and when you're even you, Steven, like when you're in that kind of professional environment, you can't be just yourself like you are on your stream and that sort of thing.
This is the lie.
Oh boy,
this is the lie. This is the biggest lie. This is the biggest lie perpetuated in esports. The biggest lie. Well, like okay. First of all, professionalism and personality are not two mutually exclusive.
Yeah, I'm not saying that.
Right?
I'm just
right. But yeah, but here's the thing. Whenever anyone shows their real personality, everyone goes, "That's super professional." Right? Okay, but let me tell you what put esports on the map, right? It wasn't me going into work every day in a shirt and a fucking tie, right? Buttoned down as fuck, not talking about things. Just, oh, hey, here's an article, guys. Tell me if it's good or not. Like, subscribe, and comment. Thank you, right? Like, it was actually having some fucking balls and some fucking personality. And the thing is, that's the history of esports in a nutshell anyway, right? Think about all the people, right, that have actually pushed the industry forward, raised the bar, got interest in the game. Is it the guy whose name you can't fucking remember who turned up and casted a bunch of fucking games? No. It wasn't, right? It's the guy's personality. It's guys like Too Good. It's guys like Thorin, right? Like, think about how big we blew up in America right now on E-League because of the Shaquille O'Neal thing. That was on the front page of the Huffington Post. Right, yeah, but, and yet people are still saying, "Oh, Thorin."
Wait. So like, this is like, there are gray areas. Like, it doesn't have to be like fucking full throttle or nothing. Holy shit! Like, no one is saying like you have to go on stage and become like a monotonous drone. Like, hello, I'm here, Richard Lewis, from my cubicle at Breitbart, and I've
the community does say that though, dog.
No, not necessarily. But
yeah, they do.
No, come on. There's a gray area. Like, nobody's saying you have to turn it off completely. They're just saying that like it's okay to like not go full fucking casual personality like you would in a stream, and to like bring your professionalism up like a little bit. I don't think that's necessarily like the worst thing in the world, depending on the size.
Put it this way: you cannot have it both ways. You hire Sky, right? Because he's a big YouTuber. He's a big personality. He has a big following, right? You hire, and he's linked to the Smash community organically. So you hire him, right? And then you're like, oh, he's being Sky Williams. This is fucked up. I mean, seriously, like, this is crazy.
I mean,
it's just this simple. Don't watch. Like, don't watch. If you don't want to see a guy make gay jokes, flirt with players, if you can't handle that, your delicate little sensibilities, when Sky Williams on air, that's what you're gonna get. That's his brand.
Okay.
That's what he's gonna do. You don't like it, turn it the fuck off. Don't make a Reddit thread about it. It's pathetic.
I mean, I definitely agree with you there. Like, they shouldn't have hired him if you know what you're getting when you hire Sky, for sure. But at the same time, what I meant, when I said that, it's a little bit different when you're at an event, is that, when you're streaming by yourself, it's all about you. You know what I mean? Like, it literally, you're talking about yourself, and you're, I don't know, you're referencing yourself and that sort of thing. But whenever you're, on a panel, and you're, when you're doing MLG Minors, or you're doing, some major event, Rich, I mean, you're not just like focused on yourself when you're talking. It's for the good of the entire
I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you a story, right? Because I'm getting to that threshold where I think, you know, I just don't mind talking about these things. I think you know, people keep taking their shots at me, but like whatever industry people, you keep trying. I'll keep being successful. Go fuck yourselves. Right. So we did the first day of the major. Was it a major? I think so. Anyway, I'm pretty sure it was one of the majors we did for DreamHack. We did the first day, and Foreign, made a joke about a player's appearance. Like, they were doing the player pictures, and there was like this one real bad picture of this one player, and I won't name the player or whatever, right? Because, like, you know, I'm not gonna shame anybody, right? I'm not gonna shame them. Like, it's you know, but it wasn't a great photo, right? Like, I mean, you know, they were doing better than Rod on ESPN. Let's put it that way, right? So anyway, right? Just to get that in, right? But
that's coming. That's coming.
Believe it. So anyway. And Thorin on air at a major goes, man alive, he looks like he's been looking for the precious for the past 10 years, right? Like, obviously alluding to the fact this guy looks like fucking Gollum. Now, I'm like, at a major, dog, like, now we're gonna do this, like, you know, like, haha, Duncan. Moving on to something that isn't a player's appearance, right? But it was a joke, and it floated out there. Right, and the desk had a laugh and a chuckle. People at home didn't seem to mind too much. There was no Reddit threads calling for Duncan's job like there usually is every time he opens his mouth. Anyway, the fucking organization got so triggered about it, they went to DreamHack and were like, why is Duncan on a desk?
God, okay.
Right? Because he said one of their players looked like Gollum. Like, come the fuck on, guys. This is what I mean. It's like, look.
I mean, that's some serious shit. Look at the guy that happened in, wasn't the guy in Turkey? That doctor said that the prime minister looked like Gollum, and he got suspended for 3 years or whatever, practicing medicine now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. So now we're comparing esports to dictatorial regimes around the world.
Hey, Turkey is a proud ally of the United States of America. You take that back, you savage fucking Bourbon.
Hey, I love America. I'm out here right now. Like, I don't want to go back. I'm going to pledge allegiance. I'm going to get my gun when I get my citizenship.
You better hurry up and do it before Trump can get president, man.
I love America, right? You believe that. So anyway, anyway, the point I'm making though is like, okay, this is an entertainment industry, and all of our broadcasts are live. Now, the problem with live improvised entertainment is sometimes people are going to say stuff you don't like. Sometimes people are going to say stuff that comes out wrong. Sometimes people are going to they're going to have like the synapses fire, and it's going to be like, oh, that's a great joke for down the pub with your homies. Not a great joke at a major tournament, right? But here's the thing. You can't say to Duncan, dial it down. Because if you say to Duncan, dial it down, we don't get that moment with Shaq. Instead, we get some little guy like, oh my God, I'm talking to Shaq. I can't make a joke about it. The E-League doesn't blow up in a big way on TV. The tournament execs aren't pumped to be working with us, you know? Like, this is what I'm saying.
I still think that there are like, I still think that there's there, it doesn't have to be full throttle or nothing. Like what Duncan said to Shaq was fine because those guys were all part of the bands anyway. Now, if Duncan would have said something like, something like, "Are they paying you over there, Shaq?" I mean, I didn't know that slavery was illegal in the United States, and like shit, like that might have been like more extreme or something. Or if Duncan would have said something like, "I'm glad that we're doing this broadcast in America, not Poland, because I wouldn't want the audience to be throwing bananas at you," like something like that. Like that would be too much. Like those would be jokes that even if they might be funny, like would be way too hard. Like it's like for me, like if I get invited to cast or something, like I'm aware that I'm being invited because of who I am in my audience, whatnot. If I'm going to a home story cup, that cast is going to be way different than if I'm guest casting. If I were to be at like a WCF or whatever, I'm not going to be telling people to like, God, this person needs to fucking kill himself.
You got to agree with that, really, right?
Yeah, no,
I think you can find like middle areas. Like it doesn't have to be like full throttle or nothing. Like I think it's okay to.
I do agree with that, right? Like different environments, different broadcasts.
Yeah, you know, nobody's saying you have to be like completely neuter, but like that was the problem with Sky, is that Sky was literally going full like Sky in a YouTube, like calling every player cute and being like really like making everybody kind of uncomfortable with like the over the top. I don't want to say over the top gayness, but like with the over the top like physical comments on other people. I don't know. I think that like even if like a woman would do it, it would be kind of creepy or annoying after a while. Or even if a guy were to do it and it were female players, obviously that would be creepy. But I don't know.
Well,
anyways, I think they're getting their.
I'm sure Sky's great to hear about this gay privilege that he's got, right? Like,
check. The problem is like I linked you the I linked you that thread, right? You saw the thread on Smash Bros.
Yeah, I'm reading it now. Like,
It was
Like,
he made a
love,
video on it.
like,
I'm sure Sky's gonna make a video on this.
I made a thread about a response to his critique, and he said that the reason why people were bashing him now is because people are homophobic.
Oh no!
I like that response there too.
Oh, I see it. Oh my
no,
god!
but like for
Oh, no.
real though, like this guy comes in and he goes like, you know, oh, we get it, you're gay and sassy, but if it were a male calling out females, like, I just hate this fucking argument that always gets brought up. Like, well, if a man were to do it, a straight man to a straight woman, like, we're all fucking different. Like, what fucking year is this? Like, they're like, just like egalitarianism and equality are like, you know, noble goals, but it's different shit, right?
Yeah, they're definitely different.
You know what I'm saying? Like
but the broadcast, right? Generally,
we aren't all the same, right?
Yeah.
But we all should have the same opportunities. So when you reject someone's personality because you're like, well, I can't do it as a straight, get the fuck out of town, like. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, this kid got fucking triggered because there's a gay black man flirting with another man on his.
No, I don't think it has to do with that. Oh
real,
my god!
all real.
Like
That's what
missing
happened,
the
man.
point. Fucking 101. Holy shit!
No,
I don't
no,
think you have to
bullshit,
be
bullshit.
uncomfortable with it to just not want to see something like constantly.
there are some people triggered by that, Steve. I mean, you can't be.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
can't
Yeah,
deny
but even
that.
if there are
I
some people
mean,
triggered, like I wouldn't be triggered. I don't give a fuck if gay people fucking some man. I'll go turn on.
But you're not making those threads.
Here you
So
go.
it's-
No, but
Prime
if I was
example,
like
prime
really
example.
into it and I was watching it, like I could understand that being annoying to hear somebody like constantly being flirtatious and shit with every single player. Like I could understand why that would get annoying after a while.
Right, prime example. It's not about what you do; it's about who you are. Fifth Lauren, right? Fifth Lauren, guy works for Twitch, ex-NIP player. Guy's a legend. I've known him years. Love Robin a bit. Like one of the nicest human beings you'll ever meet, right? But when he's on a desk, he doesn't give a fuck. Like he just says whatever is in his mind, and a lot of the jokes are like, you know, bend over, pick up the soap, like. Near the knuckle, prison, fucking rape shit. Like it's unreal that it's coming out. Like I'm like, you know, right? We this is where we rated in.
Constant though. It's not constant from
but he makes those jokes. You'll never see a thread about it because it's Fifth Lauren, doggy. Everyone loves him. Everyone loves him. When Thorin does it, threads immediately. That's super unprofessional. You shouldn't joke about that. And again, it's about like, well, I don't like Thorin, so I'm gonna monitor everything he does. When he fucks up. Right, I'm going to be on top of it. Like that's people dedicate their lives to being like internet police. Now, Robin, right? Nobody's doing that for him because he's an ex-player and he's gone through the classic player arc where it's like, haha, you're bad, kill yourself, quit. They retire, and then everyone goes, God, I miss those guys. Right, like you know, Idra, right? Idra, so professional. Let's drive him out the industry, and then Idra's, oh, it's boring without Idra. Yeah, you drove him out, motherfuckers. Same for Stefano, everyone else, right? Everyone with a personality, you shit on them till they don't want to be part of the community anymore, and then you go, miss that guy, brilliant. Yeah, you're fucking, you know.
Stefano, we shit on Stefano. We forced.
Okay, but like,
wait, let me get this right. What?
I still feel like you're making it sound like it has to be like 0 to full throttle. Like I feel like you can find a middle ground.
But what I'm saying is you got to have that room to move. It's a live broadcast. You got to improvise a lot of the time. Okay, we're filling, right? This is the key thing that no one talks about, right? Do you know when broadcasts go bad and people veer into territory and people make those jokes where everyone gets triggered and Reddit threads and people have to come out and make one of these insincere apologies that everyone in esports likes so much because they get to beat their chest and say we humiliated you and pressured you into doing something like it's an interactive fucking game to them, right? Okay, it's basically, you know, okay, right, fuck. Let me put it this way, right? The whole fucking point is when you're filling, you literally, there is no script. You don't know where you're going. You just get told.
Improving.
The game is not going live for 20 minutes. Entertain this audience.
Okay, but this is totally, but that's totally irrelevant. I don't have to imagine because I've been in these situations before. If I was on a fucking stream casting a tournament and I had to fill, I can't just be like, man, fucking nigger. Oh shit, I was improvising. I'm sorry. I was trying to make up content on the fly, and I just, for some reason, all I could think of was the most racist shit I could possibly imagine. You have to understand that it's improv. Like that. Yeah, but
now you're doing. Okay, that's you criticizing my argument.
You're exaggerating.
Criticizing my argument, saying it can't be 0 to 100. But actually, you're exaggerating. There. No one's ever going to do that, right? But let's just say you were like, hey, you got to fill. So you tell a story that you think is completely appropriate and funny, but actually within the context of the tournament, it upsets a bunch of people. Yeah, I've done this before on StarCraft events.
Yeah, but that's like that's part of your job, though, is to know like what you can or cannot say. Like that's part of being a broadcaster, is knowing what you're able to do. That's part of.
It's ever shifting. It's ever shifting, and you're out there on your own. And you've just got to fill that time. So, like, even as a host, right? And I think I'm pretty good at controlling people and cutting people off. You know, I can't, I can't predict what someone's going to say. So, like, if I say, hey, well, that was a pasting. We're now ahead of schedule. We got like 20 minutes to fill. Can you think of any games that you've seen that were as one-sided as that? And then the guy just goes off on one about, those guys got their shit pushed in, or like whatever the fuck. I don't, if that happens, right? Like, I get the blame for that as a desk host, by the way, right? And then on top of that, like, will the community blow up about it today? Some days they do, some days they don't. There's no consistent standard. There is no consistent standard. It's just what if that one triggered person finds it and it goes viral, you're fucked. That's all it is. And you're walking that tightrope before. And I think it's a dangerous precedent because, as I said at the start of this segment, it's personality and entertainment that's going to put esports on the map, and always has. But by the way, not the idea of like a bunch of guys being too scared to speak honestly when they have to fill for time. But yeah, but like no one ever blames production. No one ever says, oh, hey, DreamHack had a 40-minute delay, so Richard and Duncan had to talk for 40 minutes, and in that 40 minutes, Duncan made an inappropriate joke. If the broadcast was going smooth, we'd never have to go off script. No one ever says that. We get the blame. Like it's like this fucking, it's lose-lose. Well, because we're out there making their product look good. We're the talent. We're out there doing what we have to do. And if you go off script, you get all the shit for it. No one says, why wasn't your tournament running on schedule? Why didn't the producer come in and stop them? Why didn't they why isn't there like a 3-second delay? So if anything they think's inappropriate there, they can just fucking mute it out. And everyone goes, what the fuck was that? But at least you don't have the fucking problem of, let's take your job away today. Let's write to sponsors that the esports community love to do.
Well, I mean, those big breaks. So you're right. Generally, I think you're right with that statement there. But here's the thing. I think when you guys do a good job, when you do a good job filling that space, I think people do recognize it in these communities, and they give you praise for that. But there's a larger chance that you might say something that isn't that gets you in trouble because of those large spaces. But what I'm saying is that people do see it when you do a good job. And people know when these tournaments have freaking crazy delays. I mean, everybody complains about these delays, especially DreamHack, right? I mean, that's been an issue, just at various DreamHacks over the years. So I wouldn't say that
if we wanted to be diva-ish about it, what we should be saying is, well, there's like a 40-minute delay and you want us to go out there and fill? No, we're not going to do that. It's too risky.
Well, then we could just see that, the shot of the crowd for like 40 minutes. And that's when the production gets in trouble. Yeah.
Right. And then people complain about it and go, hey, why isn't the fucking entertainment on? Brilliant. Well, it's not on because every time we come out and try and entertain you, you get fucking upset about it.
Okay. All right.
What the fuck is up with that?
Okay. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about ESPN esports. Well, so ESPN esports launched this week, which made some big news, and they made a few notable hires that were announced. Slasher, Fionn, and Darren, of course. And Slasher was pretty much the focal point, I think, of this announcement, at least from the standpoint of having a figure, just being the face of it, I guess you could say. And Slasher was on OTL, for instance, Outside the Lines, just talking about, of all things, PEDs and esports, which very, very surprising. That would be, I guess how this debuts, given that PEDs was a topic of discussion, months ago, maybe even like a year or maybe over a year ago.
Yeah.
And kind of resolved amongst the community that, it is an issue, but it's, I'm not too sure how big of an issue it is. And of course, ESL started, having the drug test and things like that too. But obviously a lot of things ended up being created, some shitstorm, which we're going to get to in a second. But first off, let's just talk about ESPN just launching esports in their, having their esports portal, and then let's just talk about the titles that they're introducing ESPN esports with.
So ESPN was obviously always going to come to esports, despite all the posturing, by the network president and stuff, saying that they didn't consider esports to be a sport, and every time they ran something like Heroes of the Dome or whatever it was, which I mean, let's be real, they didn't pick that up as an experiment. That was almost like a paid for thing, exercise. Sure. Yeah. It was advertising basically.
But cool,
anyway, it's still cool, but I think that does take a little bit of the shine out about it when you know that, when it's like it was just paid to be there, and ESPN didn't pick it up organically. But anyway, so ESPN, they want to come into this space, and it's great to have them. It's great to have them. Like I would never be critical of ESPN. I talked to ESPN when they were hiring, right, and. And then they came to me, and we talked about some stuff, and I don't know how the relationship could have worked. It's a Disney company. I'm definitely not Disney, so how would that have worked out? But like what in terms of what they've done for sports coverage, everyone knows how good they are. Okay,
leaders.
Everyone, right. Industry leaders, like they've done a bunch of great stuff. Like the statistical stuff's amazing. So yeah, and they've got a real good high caliber of reporting. They've had some controversies recently. There's accusations of bias because of the relationship they have with the NFL. They dispute that. But, I'm glad they're in esports. Now, when you come into esports and you want to do esports journalism, right, you got to go out and get the best journalists. And sometimes that isn't always the biggest personalities. Sometimes that's the hardworking guys who no one knows their name. They don't have a brand. They just do good work, really good work. And this was one of the mistakes on Gamers before it, when CBS came in and they went out there and they got all the big names, and then they got a bunch of other younger guys and they treated them like fucking peons. Okay. Like, for example, William Turton, who was a guy I went out and basically said, come to the Daily Dot. I fought for him to get to the Daily Dot. He had this negative stigma about him because he made a couple of junior mistakes, which on Gamers blew out of all proportion, publicly halving his salary, like full on cuckolding him in fucking public, right? Which is a ridiculous thing to do to any of your staff. Anyway, that kid was like on the fucking, what was it? Forbes 30 for 30 teenage list or something, or was it? No, sorry, Time Magazine. Most influential teenagers 2015, because he's now left esports because the community drove him out. Go figure, right? And he's now reporting on cybercrime. He's broke some of the biggest stories in tech journalism. The kid's like fucking 18, right? So on Gamers didn't develop or nurture that talent, right? And I'm looking at ESPN and I'm seeing a little bit of the same mistakes where it's like they're going for names and brands over ability and hunger. And no one epitomizes a lack of hunger more than Slasher.
Okay. Let's talk. Hold on. Before we get any further with that, Steven, what do you think about ESPN esports first?
It just seems like a good thing to me. I mean, there's nothing more for me to add. Nothing more for me to add. I don't think anybody would ever say a bad thing. And to see what ESPN can bring to esports is good. Yeah. So
of course, Richard's going to go all in on Slasher here, but. You mentioned.
I'll be balanced. I'll be fair and balanced. Fox
okay, hold on. All right. So you mentioned that ESPN, Disney, or just ESPN talked to you, right? And you agree that you can't really see how that would work because of your edge. I mean, it's just being frank, right? Your edge, it's and ESPN. You can tell that they probably don't want to take that kind of risk, just because of the type of image. Friend, I don't know, family friendly, whatever you want to call it. I don't think they want to take that type of risk with the type of edge that's very popular in esports right now, especially with journalism and reporting things, right, and revealing things, investigative stuff. So, okay, you're pointing out Slasher. Who else are they going to choose? Like Rich, like who are they going to choose? That's very notable, has a history of.
There was other decent editorial.
I think ChanManV wants names.
Candidates. Oh, well, like Michael Lalla over at Esports Heaven. That was somebody I groomed to be my replacement. He won't mind me saying this, wasn't my first choice. Kelsey Moser, she turned down taking over when I left Heaven Media. But these are people that have editorial nous, drive, very good at editing copy, very good at dealing with other personalities. They may not be a big fucking glamorous name, but they've got a degree of dare I say, professionalism, and they're very, very talented individuals. They're not big names. Sure, they're not, but you don't want your editor to be a big name. You want your columnists to be big names. That's what I believe. That's how I used to run.
Yeah,
things.
I can see that. Yeah.
When I was an editor, like, okay, I was kind of a big name, like in terms of like just controversy and shit, but I went out and got big names. I went out and got guest writers. I went out and got like, guys like fucking, like just players to write a one-off column. Like that you want your columnists to be the sort of star of attraction. That's why every journalist that's ever worked in a press room we all hate the columnists. They don't even have to come into the office. They're the fucking stars, right? They get paid a fortune to write one article a week because they bring the traffic, they bring the attention. So the issue I had, I guess, with the appointment is that this is somebody who, while he was on Gamers, broke one story and then basically spent the rest of the year just piggybacking on other people's work. Like Rod became a journalism what Snoop Dogg is to hip hop. He comes on your album, he does one verse, and then he just fucks off and cashes the check and starts telling everyone he's Bob Marley, right? Like it's just, you know what I mean? And like, I don't even mind that, right? Live your life the way you gotta live it. But the problem I've got with Rod, and this is a recent development. People know me and Slash have always had a back and forth, right? But
yeah, I mean, when we left, when I left or whatever, it was fine.
Yeah, exactly, right? And I can prove this. The evidence is out there. When he got fucked over by Reddit and basically had to tank on Gamers, right? Like, and tanked it involuntarily. I wrote a piece saying he got offered up to the sacrificial gods.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it was a bad thing for journalism, right? A bad thing for journalism in our space. And I defended and championed Rod. And where it gets personal and where it gets difficult for me is just prior to after On Gamers went under and the guy needs a job, right? He's out there like trying to do some like freelance shit, and he's going to people, don't give Richard Lewis a story. Don't give him a story. Give it to me. If you've ever got a scoop, don't give it to him. He's an asshole. Give it to me.
Not to step over anything, but isn't it? Wouldn't you say the same to anybody?
Yeah, like, why would you want anybody to give a scoop to
anybody else? I can say honestly, I have never gone to a source. I've never gone to somebody doing a story and said, "Don't give journalist X a story over me." But
like, let's say you had a source at Riot, or let's say you had a source that you were tapping for a story, and then you were in the process of talking to them, and then all of a sudden someone else published the story that you were talking about. Wouldn't you feel
that happens all the time? That's journalism, man. If they get there first, brilliant. They're welcome to get there first. Like I relish the competition because then it means everyone else in the industry is doing their job. So I'm fine with that, and I mean that. That's not anyone knows me knows I'm fucking deadly serious about that shit. But like to try and dismantle somebody else's source network because you feel threatened by like, your stars fading a little bit, they're on the up. I can't really respect that. But that isn't what even triggered me. That isn't what triggered me in not being able to have a relationship with Rod anymore. What he did was, so he's struggling to get a job, this is before he went to the Score. And I'm like, hey, with Daily Dots taking off, we're building up our esports section. Had some amazing stories. I still think it's the best place to go for esports reporting. Breitbart won't mind me saying that. They like it when I write about politics. So or tech, right? So he needs a job, and he's like floating it out there that he needs a job. And I think he asked at the Daily Dots. So my bosses come to me and they go, "We know you've had previous with Rod. So would you mind if you worked here?" And I said, it's got to be about what's good for business. It's got to be about what's good for business. Rod will come here and he'll be here for 6 months and then he'll move on to bigger and better things. But while he's here, we'll get attention, we'll get traffic. I'll bury any hatchet to do what's right for business. Okay? So they're like, okay, well, we'll interview him then. So Rod misses the first interview, of course. Right? Doesn't even turn up, right? And then the Daily Dot come back to me and they go, hey, he didn't even turn up to the interview. What's up with that? And I'm like, oh, he's going through a tough time. He's lost his job. Like, On Gamers was his baby. He feels really bad because he cost everyone else their job by accident because of this Reddit bullshit. Like, he knows the site's going to go under. So, like, he's under a lot of pressure. Please just give him another chance. Like, I'm fighting for Rod to get another interview. He gets an interview, right? And at the interview, he says, I couldn't come and work for the Daily Dot while you still employ Richard Lewis. Floating the idea, the insinuation.
Oh, wow.
If they fired me, he'd take the job. Now, I don't give a fuck who you are, what you've done, what you think about anybody else. You got to have a good reason to go after someone's job because you take everything away from them when you take their job away, right? They have got to be malicious or dangerously incompetent. They're the only two reasons it's acceptable because you take the food out their mouth, the roof from over their head. And as somebody that's done that by accident, the idea that he would then do it again, like try and take some rival's job away, unreal. Then with the Robert Olin story, like again, as soon as he heard I was reporting on it, when Robert Olin got deposed, he was again going out to DreamHack staff. Don't give Richard Lewis this. I want to publish it. I think he published it like 15 minutes after me on After and he was like super, super depressed. Like he just got so angry about it. And he's in literally even now, okay. Look at this appearance on ESPN. Yeah, I called him out on how he looked. Bit childish, but it is funny, right? You're talking about drugs and you look like you're on drugs. Someone's got to say something, right? So it's just a joke. But like obviously at this point, yeah, there's a bit of venom behind it. This guy's been running all sorts of game on me behind the fucking scenes. So like make that joke. Thorin makes that joke because Thorin's obviously mad triggered as well because he worked with him at On Gamers. And he had to see what the impact Rod had. Rod's never apologized to those people. You know, Rod cost a bunch of people their jobs, right? So obviously Thorin doesn't like that, right? So he had a little dig. But so did Carmack. So did people like Kelby May. Everybody was making fun of it, right? Does Rod care about anyone else? No, he cares about the people that are rivals in his space. And you think, well, all right, we've given him a bit of a pounding. So now he's gonna learn his lesson. Nah, here's what he's gonna do. He's still right now reaching out to people saying, oh, Richard Lewis is an asshole. I'm at ESPN right now. Your stories get way more exposure with me. Give me the stories. And I've got team owners calling me up going, this Rod guy fucking hates you, dog. Like, so it's just like.
Wait. That's as soon as this, like the last few days?
Yeah.
Are we talking?
Right? Okay. So like this guy is like the fucking bitch from Misery when it comes to me.
My God.
He won't leave me alone. Like I just let my work. I let my work speak for itself. In 2015, I pretty much broke every big story. I don't need to prove anything. By the end of this year, I guarantee you, I'm not going to be reporting. I'll be a columnist. I'll be on TV, whatever it's going to be, right? I won't be doing investigative reporting. But I got a real worry that if you rely on people like Rod to do it, it's not going to get done because he has proven that he doesn't have the fire in his belly anymore. That's just being real about it. I'm sorry if Rod disagrees with that. But at the score, everyone knows he was piggybacking on young, hungry talent that never got the attention he got, right? Never got it. And here's the other thing as well. What the score doesn't want you to know is they suppressed stories. They suppressed stories like the MYM Corey scandal, which they had way before I did. But they didn't want to publish it because they didn't want to rock the boat. That is not what a reporter does.
Rock the boat? What do you mean?
Rock the boat.
Oh, you mean rock the boat, just conservative. Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, no, like rock the boat, like, hey, we're gonna report on this like big scandal, and maybe we burn some bridges. If you're worried about burning bridges, get the fuck out of journalism because the only responsibility you've got is to the reader. Now,
well, okay, so here's the question.
Didn't know any of this before they hired him. Right, like that's the other thing as well, because I don't blame him. How can ESPN know about like 12 years of esports politics and complicated relationships and madness, right? Like I get that. They can't know. But seriously, before we even get onto the broadcast on air, this is all the stuff that's going on behind the scenes. That guy is now repping ESPN. And it's just like, look, okay, if he does good work, all is forgiven, right? But I mean, come the fuck on. Like, if anyone's got a reason to beef with Rod, it's me, right?
All right, so first off, let's clarify some facts here. So Rod is not the editor, right? Darren is the editor. But with the hiring of Slasher, Fiona, and Darren is the editor out of the three of them. The Slasher and Fiona are the columnists, basically. And so he doesn't make the decisions as to what goes out there and what doesn't. In terms of like what you just said about the score, that's pretty much what we're going to be seeing on ESPN too, right? I don't think ESPN is going to be like coming out with some crazy, rocking the boat type of articles too. I imagine.
I think they are going to try and go that way.
You think they are going to go that way? Okay.
Why start with performance-enhancing drugs? Why start there?
Well, okay, that's true. I just figured it would be again yet a little bit more conservative than we're used to. But yeah, true. They did lead with the PED thing. Steven, you're going to say something?
I mean, I understand they led with that, but I really can't see them like ESPN's first foray into esports. I feel is going to be like a way more general recap-y, like nice for everybody, fill the waters. I don't think they would jump right in and go for the fucking throat. Like that seems like,
I mean, it's going to be a positive approach, right? Like this kind of more generic positive approach. Richard, I know you hate like generally when it comes from a journalistic standpoint.
I know it's old fashioned and unpopular. I just want people to tell the truth, man. I get it. About this industry. Like,
don't get me wrong. I think it'd be more successful. It'd be more successful, if the type of stories that you typically come out with, just the more controversial ones would be the ones that are reported on ESPN. Like there should be no filter, basically. Unfortunately, that's not the case. We are going to see a filter on ESPN, and is that going to affect the success of it? Is that going to affect the views that go to ESPN? We know what articles get the most views in esports, guys, right? I mean, it's like Richard's articles, like for 2 years now. It's been his articles that get the most, and even carry some sites, from the standpoint of just traffic, and that's the kind of traffic I know ESPN is probably looking for too. So no matter what we want, no matter what we think about ESPN covering esports, it's going to come down to results too. And ESPN is going to need results for them to keep continuing.
I think with ESPN though, they don't need traffic. I mean, they want to hook into a demographic, sure, but like I don't think
so. You don't think it's going to be based? No. You don't think that there's like X period of time they need to have at least this type of numbers?
Yeah, no, I don't think there's going to be any traffic metrics over at ESPN. Like, I know enough about working at Breitbart. I've never had a conversation about traffic. They don't care about that. It's about doing the good work and writing the stories no one else will write. And obviously, there's a bunch of people in esports who've never been exposed to Breitbart, and me being there means that there's going to be some overlap. And I've seen it now, like loads of people who follow me never even heard of Milo Yiannopoulos. They're starting to follow him.
Sure.
And that's the success, because they're expanding their brand, to people who perhaps ordinarily wouldn't click on it and never heard about it. It's not about traffic. Like it's okay. No one's ever come up to me and said, well, I only got 50,000 hits, so guess you're not getting a paycheck this week. I think ESPN, what their success is going to be, it's going to be the type of work they do. It's going to be the big stories, the relevancy. I know for a fact that they want to take reporting to the next level. That's what they want to do. We all know the standard of reporting and the articles, the features that we've had on esports has been super, super low. Like that Harold Goldberg guy who come in and wrote that Playboy article and everyone was fawning over it, actually was pretty mediocre, if we're all being real about it. But whatever, that's just because the bar's set so low. And I think ESPN want to raise that bar. I think that's their first and foremost goal. Like, for real, everyone's got to say that, but people say it and don't mean it. Yeah,
okay, then why not hire more people then? Like, I guess they're only hiring 3 people right now, so maybe they are planning on hiring.
We get back to Slasher, right? So they reached out to people. Rod specifically, they reached out to high profile.
Rod fucked every single person they reached out.
No, what?
Rod told them not to hire anybody.
No, that's what I was going to say, right?
On. No way.
Rod basically reached out to like high profile columnists and said, why don't we write an article together? Right? Why don't we write articles together and share a byline? So it would be like, say for example, he asked me, it'd be Richard Lewis and Rod Slasher Breslau.
Piggyback
kind of thing. Yeah. Well, like, and the response from the people that have been reached out to are, how about I just write the article myself, get paid myself? And it's this desire to synthesize relevancy that I can't appreciate. That I don't want to share a byline unless the person I work with has actually made a serious contribution, well, you know, I think Rod wants to come into Counter-Strike in a big way. I think that's what he wants to do. And that's cool, right? Because, again, more the merrier for me.
Really?
Yeah, fuck yeah. More when it comes to reporters, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But when you're like reaching out to like high-profile columnists and stuff, and you're saying, hey, let's share a byline, like, come on, do your work, dog. That's all you got to do. Like, it's always been about the work. So you know, I got shot on, of course, by the old boys club, you know, that have all ascended ivory towers, right? Because I had the temerity to point out that maybe Rod's done some less than ethical things in his time. It's just that you know, and people know it, but no one says it. And I'm bored of having to sit on my hands and not say things because once again, the elder gods come after you and take your job away.
Well, you're talking about Wheat coming in on it, and Wheat obviously doesn't know all these other things going on. So
hey, what? Do you think that? I don't think that DJ Wheat is naive at all.
Wheat doesn't know all these stories with Rich. Like Rich is just coming up with ideas. Yeah, he's just coming to defend.
Every time you try and tell him, he goes, la 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 la. He's my boy. He's my boy. All right then. If you don't want to operate in the realm of facts, well, what do you want me to do about it? You know, like
I'm just saying, Marcus. It was more of like coming to the defense of whether he should have. I don't know if he should have. Probably not. Just given that he probably doesn't know like what you know your beef with Slash or just the all these issues with you and Slasher. But
it's the irony of calling me out for burning bridges when you've got a guy.
Oh, okay, all right. See that was the
ground. You got a guy burnt the site to the ground. CBS, when they came in and On Gamers, that was the biggest experiment in esports journalism, right? And it was actually going places until its fucking Reddit ban. You know, like Rod fucked that, single-handedly shit the bed. I hate Reddit and their stupid rules, but you gotta, you know, and I never bent the knee to them, but I never fucking vote brigaded or any of that shit, right? Because it's not worth it's not worth it when you get caught. The short-term gain, you get fucked on the long-term loss, you know? My content doesn't go on the League of Legends subreddit right now, which is like the second most active subreddit on Reddit. So the amount of traffic I could be having permanently diminished. Fortunately, my career choices and the way my career's going means I don't have to worry about that. And I'll never have to worry about that. But those people did try and hurt my career. Rod, on the other hand, in a moment of thoughtlessness, has ended careers. So, what, you think he didn't burn bridges with those people? Trust me, he did. He definitely did. So the idea that, like, you should have burning bridges on your resume or whatever Wheat said to me, it's just absurd. And there was no need for him to get involved anyway. I got nothing against Marcus. But let's be real. What Thorin came out and said is absolutely true. Like, now these guys can assassinate your character. Back in the day, they killed your whole career. And we know that, right? Like the old boys network was a fucking real thing, and it's evidenced by the fact that now that a lot of these people aren't operating like a fucking mafia in the esports space, we're getting up and coming broadcast.
Yeah, I mean, this old boys club.
How strange! It's almost as if the two were linked.
This old boys club thing. I mean, it's like a thing of the past now. I mean, like you said, we're beyond all that stuff.
Yeah, because they all cashed out. But that doesn't mean
cashed out. They're just doing different. Okay, all right.
Right. That doesn't mean that, like, and you know, again, talk to anyone, right? Like when Duncan should have been a big star way before this shit. Like, Duncan should have had opportunities way before this shit.
All of you guys should have had opportunities way before this shit.
Yeah, well, we've talked about this when we were going to places and saying, hey, can we work your events? They were going, no, we heard you're a bit of a liability, a bit of a loose cannon. Well, who are they hearing that from? It's these guys who go there and say, yeah, he's an asshole. We argued on Skype once, so don't hire him. Hire my boy here. And then he goes to the boy, you owe me. Right, you owe me for life, and you can.
I'm not denying that happens for sure, but I mean that's a different time too. I mean the community was smaller too back then. I mean it's just a very different time back then also. But yes, that kind of thing does happen. Absolutely.
It doesn't absolve you of what you did. And I look at how the current talent we've got for example, in Counter-Strike, how we've actually helped people and we've expanded our broadcasting talent. And everyone, and they know who they are, everyone who used to play a part in suppressing the development of talent so they could hold on to their own little slice of the pie ought to be ashamed. Because I look at some of the people we brought through. We got Moses coming through. We got this young kid called Blue coming through. We got Yanko coming through. We got Smix doing more and more stage interviews in CSGO, and we're completely welcome and open. We're like, yeah, let's get more people in. That wouldn't have happened back in their day. That wouldn't have happened. It would have been jobs for the fucking boys, right? So I'm super proud that our group of talent isn't wielding the power the way they did. Because I'd be disgusted with myself if I ever did that. So that's all I'm saying. So people want to come out and attack me. Hey, here's the reality. You can have your little verbal jabs on Twitter. That's all you get to do now. That's all you get to do. And I know it eats them up inside, but that's all you get to do.
How can I have verbal jabs against you on Twitter, man? Let's be real. You just ripped them a new asshole anyway. Steven, you've been quiet for a while, man. Any comments on any of this stuff?
It's Richard's domain. I don't know if there's
not
much.
What do you mean, old boys, new boys club is his domain?
I mean, the problem is I can't. I mean, like Slasher's in chat, like talking, saying that none of this happens.
Guys, everybody that's like, get call Slasher. Guys, Slasher can't come on this show. He works for ESPN now. Let's be real. Like, he can't come on.
Hey, I'm
true. He's not allowed to come on.
Yeah, he's not going to come. I don't know if he's loud, but he's definitely not coming on. I've already asked him, so he's not coming on, guys. And I think it has a lot to do with him. You'd have to get it approved and just everything. So that's not happening. Okay, that's not happening. So
filtered. Jeez.
So filtered? What do you mean? It's like he fucking works for ESPN.
I mean,
it's not gonna happen.
It's
not gonna happen.
You've been on these shows and got wrecked before. I mean, there's all sorts of famous clips out there, right?
Oh no.
You know what I'm talking about.
I mean, I can understand like Richard's sentiment. It's kind of like I wish I could think of like I mean, if you've got a bunch of people who are engaged in a bunch of kind of like dirty shit, and then when they finally cash out and make it, and then all of a sudden they're telling everybody to play clean. Like, I mean, I can understand the frustration, but it's hard for me to like comment specifically just because I'm not as familiar with everything that Richard is talking about as Richard is. So I'm not going to sit here and like completely shit on Slasher because I don't.
Hey, I'm not one of this shit on. I'm just talking. These are my experiences in the past few years. Personally, always up until that point respected Rod's work, always considered him a peer and a colleague. But he's the guy who's always saying we shouldn't be arguing in public. He's the guy that's always saying, hey, we should be all getting along, it should be one family. And then every opportunity he gets to twist the knife, he does it. And then he goes, oh yeah, but truce. He's like fucking Starscream in Transformers every time he tries to fucking fight Megatron and Megatron kicks his ass. And then he goes, no, Megatron, I'm loyal to you. Like, you can't have it both ways. You either go all in and you want this to be a war, right? And I don't want that. I don't want to have to wake up and get calls from people saying there's another journalist out there telling me that, I shouldn't be giving you stories and all this other crazy shit. I don't want to do that. I just want us to do our jobs, right? And like, I get accused of being unprofessional all the time. Well, that sounds like a professional attitude to me. So why is it going to come with all of this beef, right? One joke on Twitter shouldn't make everybody lose their fucking shit. When some of the stuff Rod has done it's indefensible. It's indefensible.
All right, well, let's bring it back to ESPN. All right, we've gone down the Rod route. It's not just Rod, okay, guys, at ESPN. But
they made some great pickups. I mean, Theon, I'm super happy for him. Super happy, like beyond happy, because this guy, he basically was at LOL Esports. He was the guy who got like suspended for like 5 months for making a joke about Odie paying his writers in mouse mats. Right? So like he got suspended from LOL Esports because Riot were like, we can't have a writer no matter how good, insulting a team owner. I did a story about it again, defending journalists in the scene like I do, right? They basically reduced the ban because obviously then they were like, oh, Richard Lewis had his facts wrong again. Yeah, all right, whatever. Like he's gone through a lot of shit. He was at the fucking Score, which, I don't know what's happening there, but I thought his talents were criminally underused. This guy writes some really, really good articles. His feature's good. He's got a good sense of history, specifically for League of Legends. He's actually quite a what's the word? Like, not poetic, but his writing's actually quite rich by esports standards. So I think he's great. And I think he deserves this opportunity. And I hope he doesn't let anyone jump in the spotlight and say, you know, I made this guy because he made that guy. That's the truth, right?
Yeah,
like, you know, hard work and talent does pay off sometimes, even in this business.
Okay, well, let's talk about the fact that there's no CSGO.
There's going to be
there's not even a CSGO section, but I know it's coming. It's coming.
They're real esports.
But why launch it? Why launch it without it? You know, I mean, that I figured, why just wait? You know, wait a week, wait a couple weeks, or at least hire somebody that's a CSGO writer. You know, just like covers CSGO constantly, so that you actually have something come out. It just looks kind of funny, right? We have Hearthstone there, and we don't have CSGO. It definitely makes you wonder. Makes even people wonder that do come to the site. It's good for Hearthstone. Don't get me wrong. You know I love Hearthstone, so it's definitely good for Hearthstone. But for somebody to first introduce the esports, and we don't see all of the top 3 esports, we only see 2 of them there.
You see, what ESPN is doing is actually really ingenious. What ESPN is doing is they're linking all of our struggles together. Do you understand? Why would ESPN open with performance-enhancing drugs? Because this is an issue that you have to deal with in real sports all the fucking time. Performance-enhancing drugs. Why would ESPN showcase Hearthstone as their in the banner and all the pictures and show Hearthstone as an esport? Because we argue in the gaming community about Hearthstone not belonging in esports because it's not a real game, the same way that ESPN people argue about poker not belonging on ESPN. You see all these bridges. ESPN, these are all these parallels that they're drawing to bring our communities together.
No,
right? Next level. Wizard poker's not.
Steven's right. That's literally it. That's literally it. For real.
Or is it more that there's like just somebody at ESPN that just likes Hearthstone, and that's the reason?
Somebody
sure?
at ESPN would have to
like. Are you sure about that?
I don't think so.
Okay, so Richard, why is that exactly the reason?
No, I mean, because like that's been the barrier, right? Every time they've covered anything for esports, you get a bunch of people like, you know, like the 50+ demographic, you know, some overweight, thick-necked trucker who just wants to pound beers and watch a linebacker crush a wide receiver, which is fucking great. I like that shit too, right? But like, yeah, but they're like, you know, this ain't no sport. Like, you know, my dad didn't die in Korea for this. You know, like they go so fucking OTT and ham. Every time ESPN has reported on esports, it's just comments about how this isn't a game and I'll never do it. And then you've got that fucking Colin Cowherd jackass who's like, you know, if anyone reports on esports, I'm going to leave. And then he won't shut up about esports because he's getting more traffic and attention.
Exactly. Now he's just constantly talking
in his
about
dumbass, irrelevant life. So like, this is what I mean. Like ESPN know that they need to start finding links. Like they need to be able to say to a new and casual audience, it's like the stuff you know, just a little bit different. I don't know what Turner has planned, but I imagine, like, you know, what Turner do different to ESPN, for example, is Turner focus on individual stories, the human aspect, that kind of thing. ESPN's always a little bit more detached and big picture. But I imagine Turner will take a very similar approach when they're doing their ancillary programming and introducing esports to an audience. They're going to want to say it is like a sport. Because that's the only way you're going to get
be running. The next stories that they're going to be running are going to be featuring players suffering from RSI to show that there are injuries related to the.
Yeah. That's actually a really good idea, though, Stephen. Seriously. I support this.
I support this. All right, guys. Well, it's been about an hour. Let's take a quick break, guys. I just want to remind you, we have a Patreon for Unfiltered, patreon.com/Unfiltered. So if you want to support the show, keep the show going, definitely take a look at that. We did clear the $200 milestone, which means Steven is going to be planning and hosting an episode in the very near future. I think it's going to be the first week of February. So get ready for that, guys. And whenever Steven, it's anything goes, whatever Steven wants to do. So definitely be ready for that. And just take a look at the Patreon, just all the rewards and milestones. And yeah, thanks to all the patrons that have currently been pledging. You guys are awesome. But we'll be right back, guys. It's Unfiltered. Stay where you are.